I was paired with the most hated student in my class and got it completely wrong. When Professor Wicken read my name next to hers, the guy behind me whispered, "Unlucky mate." My roommate texted me before I'd even left the lecture hall. 3 words. "You got Claire." I knew Claire by reputation only. Not because she was lazy, the opposite. She was the student nobody wanted to work with because she was too much, too demanding, too intense, too everything. Rumors said she'd made someone cry during a presentation rehearsal, that she'd rewritten an entire group paper the night before it was due because she didn't trust her partners, that she'd once reported someone for using a source incorrectly on their shared project. People called her a perfectionist behind her back. Some called her worse things. I found her after class. She was packing up slowly like she had nowhere to be and nobody waiting. I said, "Hey, I'm Ryan. Guess we're partners." She looked at me with zero warmth. "I know who you are. I'll send you a project timeline tonight. Clear your schedule for Fridays." Just like that. No small talk, no pretending this was going to be fun. It wasn't fun. She had printed agendas for every meeting. Actual agendas with bullet points and time allocations, like we were running a board meeting in the university library. I'd send her a draft and it would come back covered in comments. Not cruel ones, just relentless. "This paragraph doesn't support your thesis. Source is outdated. Your conclusion just restates the intro. Push the analysis further." I started dreading her emails, but I also, and I genuinely hate admitting this, started getting better. By week 4, my drafts were coming back with fewer comments. By week 6, she said, "This is good," about one of my sections, and I celebrated privately for longer than I'll admit. But somewhere around week 5, I started noticing things that had nothing to do with the project. She always wore the same rotation of 3 jumpers. She never bought coffee at our meetings, just water from the fountain. I once suggested grabbing food after a session, and she said she wasn't hungry. Her stomach had been growling for the last hour. I saw her in the library at 1 in the morning on a Saturday. Same table, same stack of books, same look in her eyes that wasn't concentration. It was exhaustion so deep it had become her default expression. One Friday, she showed up late for the first time, eyes red. I asked if she was okay. She said, "I'm fine, let's just work." We worked in silence for an hour. Then she stopped typing and said, "I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be difficult. I just can't afford to mess this up." I stopped. Can't afford it how? She was quiet for a long time. Then she started talking slowly, like every word cost her something. "I'm here on a full scholarship. Academic merit. Covers everything. Tuition, books, housing, food." I said, "And that's incredible." She said, "It requires a 4.0. I said, "Okay." She said, "Not 398, not 399, exactly 4.0, or I lose everything." I've maintained it for 3 years. 3 years of never sleeping, never relaxing, never trusting anyone to do their part because if they mess up, I pay for it. My parents cleaned offices to get me here. My mom still works nights. My dad drives on weekends. They think I'm living the dream. Her voice cracked on that last word. I can't tell them I'm drowning. I thought about every person who'd complained about her, every partner who'd called her controlling, every whispered comment in every lecture hall. None of them knew. Not one person had bothered to ask. I said, "Why didn't you tell anyone?" She said, "Because then they'd pity me or think I was making excuses. It's easier to just be the difficult one. At least that way I'm in control." Then she looked at me properly for the first time all night and said, "You're the first person who ever asked if I was okay." We got an A on the project. When the grade posted, she sent me one word, "Thanks." I replied, "On same time next semester." She didn't respond for an hour. Then, "You'd actually want to work with me again?" "Yeah, I would."